From the center of the Americas to you, wherever you are, this is the end of days. Hello, exiles, and welcome home. Today is the first part of a series. 2 parts, maybe 3, haven't decided yet. The topic is, I think, the most pressing issue we have to deal with, and maybe ever have had to deal with. For we are in the midst of a spiritual war. Not everybody knows it, but more and more people are waking up to it and realizing it for what it is. You see, the Eye of Sauron is an AI, theoretically similar to the Eye of Horus, which we find on the back of the US $1 bill. It is totalitarianism. It's an Orwellian gaze, the eye of surveillance. Exponentially upgrading the algorithm exponentially degrades the human being. This is the vanguard of the war. This is why they suggest AI is going to change everything. AI is satanic precisely because it is programmed by Satanists. Perhaps, in this regard, it is much like the TV, the movie industry, Netflix. Not everything thereof is necessarily or has been bad. It's just that its output is falling off quality-wise, and it's becoming, with every passing year, more venomous, like the food supply, just like medicine. In case you don't know it, everything we eat, everything we drink, everything we breathe is designed to kill us. Every single weather anomaly is designed to kill us. Every single piece of legislation is designed to kill us. The annihilation, extinction, and genocidal maniacs want all humans dead. So said Steve Quayle. So let's explore how these maniacs are going about trying to kill us alongside their campaign of deicide. While the methods vary, and we're very unlikely to uncover them all here, let's just focus on 4 ways the cabal is acting to undermine God and his creation, which is us. First, we'll touch upon the whole food thing, a topic we get into, or we got into a couple of our first podcasts, actually, regarding Vandana Shiva, the Indian warrior ethnobotanist, active in fighting against Big Ag over in India, where they have been perverting the crop and destroying farmers for decades. And not content to destroy the subcontinent alone, more recently we've witnessed grand escalation on the part of Big Ag and the politicos to undermine the food supply worldwide, most notably in Europe and North America. We've seen a farmers' rebellion across Europe, starting in Holland, where farmers took to their tractors and drove to the capital in protest, spreading manure on various public buildings. This was a protest about the government raising fertilizer prices to astronomical, unsustainable heights, and otherwise seeking to take over farms on one pretext or another. In the U.S., we've seen small farms shut down and demands of vaccination of animals, the destruction of many thousands of animals per farm on the pretext of a fake disease. That the latest excuse, a bird flu, is completely erroneous, a bold-faced lie is obvious and indisputable, and the methodology to demonstrate said disease is predicated on the same easily falsifiable test employed to prove out the fake COVID virus, namely the PCR test. But that's not all. We've also witnessed the widespread arson of food processing plants across the country the past 2 years. And these effete little locusts even flew a couple of small aircraft into these plants to cause their destruction, which they probably already had laden with explosives. It's all rather reminiscent of 9/11 when they blew up the Twins, and then they told us that it was because a couple of planes, darn tootin', rammed into them. Yeah. Their plan is to get rid of all private farmers and replace our food stocks with mRNA fake meat and bugs. Also, you eat your shit and drink your piss. They've already destroyed a bunch of farmland, spreading, get this, liquefied human remains on the farmland. And did you think the movie Soylent Green wasn't predictive programming? Based on this, how much time do you think you've left? But wait, kiddies, we're just getting started. Babies, do you realize that most all of you have been thoroughly poisoned already, and your kids indiscriminately so? Ask yourselves, how many times in your youth or in your children's have you or them been jabbed? How significant is this? How significant is the rise in occurrence of autism from near zero to its astounding height today? How about Alzheimer's, cancer? All diseases rare in the past. Now, to be sure, there are other mitigating factors. But given that we now know that all those jabs given over the past few years, you know the ones, are poison, surely, with no remediating effects against the fake disease they are purported to protect against. What odds do you give that any previous jab did anyone any good, whatever? In fact, when you look into all those diseases, all those jabs were purported to cure, they all had proximate causes other than a virus. Do viruses exist at all? Do you realize they've never isolated any virus ever? You know, like they've never proven the existence of any virus ever? So what are all those jabs actually intended to do? I mean, the last batches we got were clearly intended to kill us. Has death, disability, and sterility been the intention of the jab since the beginning? I mean, that would be one hell of an operation of war for Big Pharma to have been running all these decades, wouldn't it? I mean, they couldn't possibly dream of pulling off anything that nefarious, not for Money. But hey, you know, let's give them a break. I mean, after all, they do a lot of good work when it comes to creating medicines that improve the human condition. I mean, why not take, for example, the excellent new weight loss medications that have hit the market recently, huh? Now, I'm not a fatty, but I've been on a diet before, and I can tell you it's hard work. You know, wouldn't it be nice if there were a pill for that? Gosh, the geniuses, and they really must be geniuses, have come up with just that. Imagine you can take one little pill at a time, never exercise. I mean, you don't even need to go so far as to take a shower, and you're darn well gonna lose the weight, okay? It's like, what do they call that? A miracle drug, okay? So I decided to take a look into it, and you wouldn't believe what I found. What I found was most surprising. It turns out, and there might be some air quotes here, side effects. Now, I found this most shocking, but there it is. Apparently, I didn't realize this, but you pretty much need to stay on this health supplement for life. You know, I know that's a long time, but wait, it gets even better. This health cure, as it were, sort of paralyzes your stomach, which apparently can be an issue down the road. And it also kind of leaves your face looking like shit after a while, though you're definitely thinner. The other interesting thing is that apparently the venom of some cagey animal or another is used as an ingredient in this miracle drug. And apparently a number of other curatives out there use animal venom in their makeup. Now, this shouldn't be cause for alarm or anything. I mean, the definition of venom is pretty much poison, but I'm sure there's nothing to worry about here. I mean, a long regimen of poison wouldn't cause cancer or anything like that. Well, all this has gotten the wheels turning, you know, and I felt compelled to ask whomever is listening, why on earth do these magical elixir makers need to advertise on TV at all? I mean, with products this good, you'd think the stuff would sell itself. No self-respecting reporter would ask questions, would he? I mean, get this. It turns out, after a bit more wheel turning, it seems that all these millions of ad spend aren't actually about customers at all. You don't need to convince customers. Hush your mouth. It turns out it's really about convincing the networks such that their reporters really don't need to look into these elixirs at all. Funny and amazing what money will buy. Just when you thought you were getting a handle on it, you find out they've been messing with the weather too. And they've been doing it at least since Hatfield made rain for LA, okay? Link below. Of course, they've gotten more crafty about it since then. Not only have they aerial planes to seed the clouds, they've so much more. And it would be one thing to use the weather manipulation to do war, like they did to Turkey a couple years ago, and when Turkey pissed off NATO, and they did it over there in China one time. It's one thing making the earth quake and shake on the other side of the world. I mean, they wouldn't do it to their own country, would they? I mean, did you think the U.S. government works for you? Naive fool. I mean, you probably thought all those fires out west and then up in Canada were old Mother Nature getting her yayas out, huh? I mean, come on, man. Who did that shit? I mean, they have a lot of tools at their disposal, and they need to put them to good use. Those HARP arrays they got around the world probably cost a lot of money to build. The DEWs, the direct energy weapons, space lasers and so forth, they use that to burn up Lahaina. Those ain't cheap to operate, I'm told. Then you've got a flood down in Texas. That Doppler array, well, they had to affix it with special stuff so that it could output enough energy to steer around the storms. I mean, you don't just leave that stuff lying around and not use it. The point is, when you're trying to sell climate change, you've got to have a change in climate, see? So what you're telling me is that I'm getting sold and that it's all been a pack of lies. Cue the Phil Collins, please. I'm going to go out for a walk by the water. Give me a smoke, somebody. Makes you wonder what they're going to get up to next. I mean, I could give you a hint. Keep your eyes on the stars, because up next, it's the fake alien invasion. Yep, fake. Just like your jabs, medicines, foods, weathers. But what does it all got to do with God? I mean, this war on humanity is the war on God, and the war on God is the war on humanity. You see, they hate you because they hate God, and they are at the same time trying to kill you. They're trying to convince you that God isn't real, that he doesn't exist. You see, that's why they've been promoting this idiotic notion of evolution for the past 150 years. See, they're about to spring on you the notion that these aliens, you haven't seen them yet, but you will soon, that they actually created you. They'll say that these rad cats from the stars came down, put some extra octane in our tanks so we'd experience evolution at a much faster rate. It's kind of brilliant, no? See, there's no need for God after all. You always knew that the idea of God was so much religious gobbledygook. I mean, you don't even know the really crazy part yet. Just wait for it. This is something I like to call the great switcheroo. I'm not even sure how they're going to do it. But after the alien invasion, they're going to introduce this notion that Lucifer is the actual, real, true, honest-to-goodness God. And now they're going to get you to take the mark, see? They're going to need to do that. But first, they need to kill God once and for all. So join us next time when we go into detail on the low-down, dirty, sneaky tricks they're getting up to. It's the kind of excrement you can't even have imagined as recently as 5 years ago. The war on God is sick. Ultimately, and once again, Christians will be criminals for professing their faith. You think it couldn't happen here? Vaya con Dios, amigos. See you next time. Where do we go from here? So much to talk about. God helps those who help themselves. So whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. Be mindful, be helpful unto others, for there is salvation, and that salvation may be your own, and you not even know it. CB wanted me to mention, thanks for listening. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps.
Adios, and thanks for all the fish.